Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining LifeWave Connect. Today is a very special day because we are here to talk about X39 and X49 directly with the founder, CEO, and inventor of LifeWave technology, David Schmidt. So it's going to be a great time for us to learn a little bit more about this technology. And I know many of you are already aware, but we will be doing a live Q&A session in the afternoon session of this broadcast and of this LifeWave Connect. So for those of you, in this session, for those of you that are new to LifeWave and new to LifeWave Connect, we do have LifeWave Connect every other Wednesday. And the first Wednesday that we hold our product training, and the second Wednesday we hold our business training. And today, this is our first Wednesday for LifeWave Connect. And so we will be actually talking about product today. If you are looking for translation services, you can find that simply by clicking on the globe. And that is at the bottom of the screen here, and it's labeled interpretation. You can find languages supported with our European markets during our morning session. And you can find languages for some of our other areas of the world for Japanese, Chinese, and Spanish in our evening session. Our morning session is at 11 a.m. Pacific, and our afternoon session is at 6 p.m. Pacific. So if you're looking for those services, you can find them there. And then when it comes to being able to access the replay of this webinar, we do stream it live to our Business Builder Facebook group. And then we also will be putting all of the different versions of this webinar and all the associated languages on our YouTube channel, LifeWave Health. Those are generally live and active in that playlist for LifeWave Connect within a week of the original broadcast. So you can find what you're looking for there and share the amazing content that is part of what's going on here on LifeWave Connect. These are always a really fun way for us to be able to share information about what's happening within the technology and also what's happening within the company. Now, as I mentioned today, we do have a special guest with us, and that is David Schmidt, the founder of our company. He's the one that invented the technology that is LifeWave, our patches, and we're really excited to have him. You know, and speaking of technology and speaking of coming together as a community, something that's really incredible is coming up in just a few short days, we actually will be having our global convention in Orlando, Florida on August 18th through the 20th. And we're really excited. We've actually sold out of our in-person tickets for this event. But like I was saying, we do have this incredible technology that allows us to still connect virtually with those around the world that wouldn't be able to generally join us for an event like this. And so if you're interested in joining us on this great event, you absolutely still can. We actually have virtual access to this event, and those tickets are still available through August 15th. And we will have that information available in the chat at the end of this session, so you can get the link and get registered to attend this event. Today we will be hearing from David Schmidt, our founder. David, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know that convention's coming up and everyone's going to have a fun time participating virtually and in person.
And of course, we've got a dynamite schedule that's planned, amazing content, lots of surprises, lots of fun things. So it's going to be great.
Oh, you're definitely right on that, David. We do have a powerhouse team behind us and a great internal staff as well. It is going to be an incredible event. I know many of the people here on the call today are actively promoting our products and will be at this event with us. And I know everyone's so excited for a convention. It's going to be so fun.
It is. It's going to definitely be our biggest and best convention ever in terms of the talent that we have coming in, the presentations. And again, there's going to be I made the comment before, members are going to see things they've never seen in the network marketing industry before. I can't wait to unveil what it is that we have. It's going to be amazing.
I can't wait either, David. I know I've heard little tidbits, and you've been so good at keeping all the secrets. So it's going to be so great for everyone, because I think there's just things that people aren't going to even imagine, right?
I would say the likelihood of that is pretty high.
Absolutely. Well, I know that many are really looking forward to hearing you speak. And again, like I shared with everyone while we we're waiting to get everything going here on the webinar, you'll definitely be a big part of this event, and people will definitely get the opportunity to hear you and those exciting announcements. It'll be great.
Oh, yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. This is one of the fun parts of what it is that I get to do. And I love interacting with our members and really looking forward to sharing what we've been working on in the lab and what impact this is going to have on people's lives and what this means to the business opportunity going forward, not only, between now and the end of the year, but well into next year and the next 5 to 10 years. So it's going to be really exciting. And as I mentioned, people are going to see things they haven't seen before. I'm bringing with me a few things from the lab and really looking forward to showing those things off. So it's going to be great.
I can't wait. I can't wait. We're heading out that way soon, and we'll definitely be with you. And I know everyone is just chomping at the bit to get there. So it'll be great. Awesome. But we don't want to give away too much about convention. I know everyone's excited. Like I mentioned before, if you weren't able to purchase an in-person ticket, meaning, coming into the United States isn't an option for you right now, or, you didn't get a ticket before we sold out twice, you still can actually get a virtual ticket. They're still available until August 15th. So I really do encourage everyone to grab one of those tickets if you can. Like you heard David said, this is going to be something different, bigger and better than anything you've ever seen. And certainly your minds will be blown. So don't miss out. Take advantage. I know those of you that wanted to come in person but missed out. Don't miss out on the virtual, right? So let's not have that same thing happen twice. But before that, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that have absolutely helped LifeWave to explode into the stratosphere in the last couple of years, and that's our stem cell activation patches. David, are you okay if we talk about that a little bit?
Let's do it. Where do you want to start?
Great. Well, as I've been going to a few different cities here in the United States in the last couple of months, I'm starting to kind of get a sense for some of the core questions that some of our members and customers are kind of having about stem cells and health and how our patches work with that. And so if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of ask you a few questions just about stem cells in general before we kind of transition into this breakthrough technology. Would that be okay?
Sure. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. So one thing that I know all of us share is that we age from day one. And the older that we get, the more, that we're slowing down and we want to reverse the effects of that. And so stem cells are really a hot topic, like I said, and I'm hearing a lot about this as I'm going from city to city. I know many people are hearing about it. So David, would you be able to really help us understand what is a stem cell and why stem cells are so important to us as human beings?
Sure thing. So first of all, there are many different types of stem cells. There are omnipotent and totipotent stem cells, pluripotent stem cells, multipotent stem cells. And these just represent different levels of cell differentiation. So we start off with these universal stem cells, and then they will begin to divide and differentiate. And so the gene expression in those stem cells changes. And the more that they divide and differentiate, they become different types of groups of cells. And then eventually they will become, let's say, a liver cell or a kidney cell or muscle cell or what have you. So all of us have these stem cells, and every cell in our bodies was once a stem cell. And this is where the power lays, because you can imagine, let's take a very extreme case where somebody loses a limb, right? This would be really tragic. But what if we could cultivate and grow these stem cells and then apply them to the injury site, and they could differentiate and divide in a controlled manner? We could regrow that person's lost limb. There would be no need for a robotic limb. So these technologies are kind of converging today, but eventually, what we're going to see is what you see in some science fiction movies where people completely regenerate lost limbs and lost body parts. And some of that is not science fiction anymore. Some of it is already being done today. And so it's definitely in our future.
Wow. So I would say that stem cells are pretty important. They're the foundation of everything in our whole body, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Pretty important. Well,
Yep.
A question that I've been asked a few times now about stem cells is, do we have like a set amount of stem cells in our body when we're born? And does our body make more stem cells? What happens to stem cells as we age? Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Well, this is an interesting question because stem cells are they are subjected to the aging process just like every other cell in the body. And the number of stem cells is limited by what's called the Hayflick limit. So in other words, cells have telomeres, which are rods that are attached to chromosomes. And as cells divide, the telomeres shorten. And once the telomeres are gone, then you don't have any new cells. So this happens with stem cells. The quality of the stem cell degrades with age under normal, quote unquote, normal circumstances. And the number of stem cells that are available to us also declines with age until eventually we don't have any more stem cells. Now, what's interesting about this is that there are ways to circumvent that process, and that's some of the work that we do. So in other words, if you can find a way to lengthen the telomeres, which we have, and we've done it in a controlled fashion, you can make the cells younger, and you can also extend the number of times they divide, meaning that we can, with this tech, increase the number of total stem cells over a person's life, and those stem cells will be younger in the process. So that means we can extend lifespan and we can extend how long people stay younger. The other, there's a number of other different approaches with stem cells, and one of them is what are known as Yamanaka factors, meaning that if you apply, Yamanaka was a researcher in Japan, and if you apply a Yamanaka factor, which is a signaling molecule, to the stem cells in the skin, you can revert them into pluripotent stem cells. And the reason I bring this up is because we see this with copper peptide, GHKCU. Copper peptide functions as a Yamanaka factor, and that means there are more stem cells available for healing tissue within the body. So, in effect, why that's important is that if people, we're not making medical claims, but if people were suffering from, let's say, long-term chronic injuries, they can potentially heal those injuries by increasing the number of circulating stem cells. One other way to do it is by using a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, but that takes a long time. It's a lot of people don't like it, and it's relatively expensive, but it's a great technology.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. I think there's still so much to know about stem cells, but hopefully everyone, that helps you understand a little bit about why it's so important and what stem cells can do. And really, we'll talk a little bit more about our patches. And I think you've already kind of leaned into that a little bit, but I do think it's so interesting what we have available here. But before we shift over to patches, there's a lot of information out there in the news, and different things that you can find about how can people get more stem cells, reactivate stem cells, do all those kinds of things. And one thing that we've heard a lot about are stem cell injections, right? And so, can you talk to us a little bit about what is a stem cell injection? Why would that be a technology that someone might lean into, kind of in relation to what you were just talking about?
Yeah, so there's some interesting things here. First, stem cell injections definitely are going to become more widely available, less expensive in the future. But right now, there really hasn't been a huge success in the conventional stem cell industry. There's some problems, meaning that you can't always control the way stem cells are going to divide. So one of the methods, for example, would be you can cultivate stem cells from a person's own body, and this is a little bit less risky, and then re-inject them. But if you have somebody, let's say, over the age of 50 or 60, the quality of those stem cells has declined and they're not as good as repairing tissues. So a little bit of pro and con there. But in any case, problem is when you can't completely control the way a stem cell divides, that's when accidents happen. So there have been experiences that people have where the stem cell differentiates into different tissue. This has happened in animal experiments where early on in Japan, they were doing research into Parkinson's disease. They would inject stem cells into the brains of monkeys, and the monkeys would die because the stem cells divided in an uncontrollable fashion. So when they would open up the monkey, they'd find in the brain hair cells, muscle cells, liver cells. So this is one of the risks and dangers. Another problem is that if you're not managing inflammation, the stem cell colonies die off very quickly. So let's say the reason why a person wants to get a stem cell injection is to treat a chronic injury. Let's say they have torn rotator cuff in their shoulder. Well, the inflammatory chemicals, such as the inflammatory cytokines, the stem cells are attracted to that inflammation, but the inflammation also kills off the stem cells. So this is why some people go for stem cell injections and they don't get any result. And it's because of the inflammation. So with our tech, copper peptide and also the Eon patch are wonderful at managing inflammation. And this is why people get results with our products when a stem cell injection failed.
Wow. Well, it seems like, stem cell injections maybe aren't perfected yet and maybe aren't an option for everyone for many reasons, right? But I think that's why a lot of people are really excited about LifeWave. And so I'd love for us to really talk about what LifeWave has as an alternative option to something like an injection or something else out there. But before we really jump super close into stem cell activation patches exactly, I'd like to kind of take one step back for those that are new to LifeWave and help them understand a little bit about how our technology works. So would you maybe be able to explain a little bit about what is phototherapy, because that's the basis for our patches, and then how have you harnessed the technology or the concept with phototherapy into the technology that's now available through LifeWave?
Yeah, so the patches are a form of phototherapy, as you say, and they stimulate the skin with very low levels of light. So there is a very well documented interaction between the human body and light. There's well over 5,000 published clinical studies on using light to influence the metabolic processes within cells and within the human body. So, for example, one of the things that can be done with light is to turn on mitochondrial function. And this is an area that I look into because mitochondrial function is directly connected with how we age, either in a good way or not so good way. So a common example that we would use is you go out in the sun and you might notice I have a little bit of color. And there's an X39 story, by the way, there that we can circle back on. But it's a good example how you go out in the sun and sunlight will elevate vitamin D, or sunlight will elevate melanin, giving us a tan. Melanin is actually a very powerful antioxidant, and it protects the skin from damage from UV radiation. For men that are interested in elevating their testosterone, you go out and you subject your androgen receptors and your trapezius muscles up on your shoulders to UV light, and it elevates testosterone. So non-drug method for elevating testosterone. So so it's very well documented that light will cause biochemical changes within the human body. What we do with the patches is I discovered a way that we could process completely organic materials so that they, when activated by body heat, they reflect very low levels of light that stimulate the skin. This will in turn cause a biochemical change in the cell, which we document with blood tests and with urine tests and bioelectrical tests. So in the case of X39, we stimulate the skin with low levels of light, and it causes the cells to produce more copper peptide.
Oh, I love it. I love just the simplicity, even though I know it's not a simple process, but the way you explain it. And I love that all of our patches really utilize that same technology, but to create a different and very specific biochemical reaction or response, like you were saying. So like you were talking about with X39 and the copper peptide, let's shift over to that, because I know X39 and X49 are two of our stem cell activation patches, which are a pretty special category. And so I'm excited for us to talk about this. And for everyone, I know we're going to be talking about X49 at convention as well, but can you talk to us a little bit more about that copper peptide, what the biochemical response that's created with X39 as well as X49 and how it relates to stem cell activation like we were talking about before?
So X39 would be the mother product. So if there are people that are on today that are looking at LifeWave and they're wondering, well, where do I start? Start with X39 because that has the broadest effects of any of the patches. And the reason for this is that X39 elevates a peptide called GHKCU, or copper peptide. And GHKCU was discovered by a biochemist back more than 50 years ago now, Dr. Lauren Picard. And he should get a Nobel Prize for this discovery because it's truly extraordinary. And what he found is that copper peptide is a very powerful signaling molecule and gene modulator. And there's many studies that are on the internet that people can read about this. But essentially what this means is that as we age, our library of information, our genes, they change in how they're expressed in the body. And this is important because if we're shifting our genes from a younger state to an older state, we're going to end up with wrinkles and gray hair and loss of muscle tissue and declining immune function and all the rest. If we can reset those genes to a younger, healthier state, then we can recover some of our youth. And that's exactly what copper peptide does. It resets about 1/3 of the human genome to a more youthful state. So the impact of this, what does that do in practical terms? Well, we found we could take people over the age of 60 and restore their cognitive function. So we can improve speed of processing, short-term, long-term memory. We can regain muscle tissue and recovery with X39 and X49, improve energy metabolism in the cell, manage inflammation, and of course, increase collagen production for reducing the appearance of lines and wrinkles, and among many other benefits.
Wow. Every time I hear anything about how amazing this peptide is and what these patches support doing, it's just so incredible. I know it's important for us to always share a disclaimer, about what we're doing here with these patches. Do you mind sharing a little bit in the disclaimer standpoint, what these patches do and don't do?
Sure. Well, first thing is I'm not a medical doctor. I'm an inventor. We don't give medical advice. We don't make any medical claims. We don't claim that our products are going to treat or cure anything. They're general wellness products. So basically, the claims that we make is that they're going to improve overall energy, help with management of pain, help with sports performance, and of course, some other things that have to do with lifestyle. So in terms of disclaimers, we're not making any claims that these patches treat or cure any illness. They're wellness products.
I love the way that you put that, David. I know that people have incredible experiences when using these patches to support the body's natural function. So I do think it's important that we share that. So hopefully everyone here, you know that it's important that we're not claiming that, but absolutely know that these patches are pretty incredible and what they can do to help your body do what it was designed to do. So David, a question that I get a lot, and I know you've had a lot too, is really around using X39 and X49 together. Like you said, start with X39, that's the key. It's got the biggest effect, but You did release some information at our last convention when X49 was first introduced. And what you shared was just the synergistic impact that was had from using these two stem cell activation patches together. I know we don't want to dive too much into the science, but can you share with us a little bit about why you might want to use these two patches together in our performance bundle option?
Yeah, the reason is that the patches are related in the sense that they're both copper peptides. So X39 elevates GHK-Cu, which is a glycine-based peptide. And there's some very interesting information, by the way, about elevating glycine metabolism and extending lifespan. And then X49 elevates AHK-Cu, which is an alanine-based peptide. So alanine has a narrower metabolic window than does GHK. And so you find alanine and alanine peptides in the muscle tissue, the heart tissue, the brain, and as we're finding out, in the bone, and also in the skin. And so what this means is that X39 produces these very broad effects throughout the entire body, because you find glycine just about everywhere in the body. And X49 is going to be a little bit narrower, but those effects are very, very powerful. So what we saw with X39 is that it can help support recovery after exercise. But what we found with X49 is that people were building muscle and losing body fat without any type of diet, and of course, engaging in exercise. And that was some of the first information that came out about it. We also, of course, found out with X49, one of the areas where it was different is that it was turning on osteogenesis and preventing bone loss. So that was really exciting. And then going back to my tanning story, my heritage is European, and my father is German, and my mom is of Italian and Irish descent. And I got the Irish part of me in the skin, which is when I would go out in the sun my entire life, I go right to a sunburn. And I've had some very traumatic experiences with that. Well, we've been doing some investigation because copper is used to manufacture a Faraday cage, and a Faraday cage blocks electromagnetism. And so I began to think about, is there a way we could use these peptides or create patches that elevate copper-based peptides that could interlink and form a type of Faraday cage in the skin? And there was some compelling information to show that copper peptide, GHK, could reduce the effects of radiation on the body. Anyway, long story short, we did find in a study that's the case, and this may lead to us being able to claim that the combination of these patches reduces a person's exposure to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and 5G. We have some preliminary data on that. But my own experience with this has been, I've been able to go out in the sun, and I've experimented without sunscreen, and I go right to a suntan, which I love. And many of our members have had a similar experience. I would encourage anybody, though, to use sunscreen. But we found this out back in 2018 when we were launching X39. And in fact, we gave out X39 and the Olivine night cream on our 15-year anniversary cruise. And it's been delightful that this potentially could be a skincare product in a number of years for helping people to avoid getting sunburn.
Wow. Well, that's pretty amazing. I was going to say that you look very healthy and tanned. And so I'm glad that the products are letting you overcome your typical situation with sunburn.
It was really, really bad. I've had very severe cases of sunburn when I was a teenager. And the other thing that I would say with that, if someone chose to experiment with that, make sure you're taking a copper supplement and you have enough adequate copper in the diet. And I would also attribute part of the effect to that. So I make sure that I'm either consuming enough liver or chocolate, or taking a copper supplement. And that's a really important part.
You can take, what is it called, desiccated liver pills to get some of that?
Yes. So liver is the best source of copper that I'm aware of. It's extraordinarily high in copper. And the downside to having liver is that it's very high in iron. It's a little bit more risky for men than it would be for women. And I'm going to talk about this actually at convention, so I won't get into it now. But I think there's some compelling reasons that you should be taking a liver supplement if you're concerned about COVID. If you want to recover from COVID faster or actually help to reduce the symptoms of COVID, you want to take liver. And I'm going to explain why at convention. Don't want to talk about it right this second. But what's interesting is that high iron levels cause oxidative stress and free radicals in the body. But GHKCU can neutralize ferritin and expression of and production of free radicals. So it balances that out. So anyway, for a lot of reasons, liver supplements are very, very good. Especially, I know that you're really into weightlifting. There are some other compounds in liver that you can't find in other protein sources that definitely contribute to muscle building.
Well, I was just listening to a podcast the other day and it was recommended. I was like, David's talked about this before. So anytime I get some additional information towards what you're saying, I'm always like, I knew this guy knew a lot of stuff.
It was an old time secret of the bodybuilders from the 1950s through the 70s. And then in the 80s, the bodybuilders said, well, it's just another form of protein. But they were wrong. There's some magic in liver where there's growth factors that help to build muscle. And the bodybuilders of the 50s, 60s, and 70s knew this. And people like Jack LaLanne, not that he was really a bodybuilder, but a health enthusiast, he was doing incredible things at age 70. And he attributed a lot of that to taking liver. And I think a lot of that has to do with the copper content, among some other things.
Wow. Okay, guys. Now we know. We have the secret.
Yeah.
Let's take those liver supplements.
One of them, yeah.
I love it. Before we jump into the live Q&A, I want to do a product giveaway, but I just want to mention one quick thing. So for any of you that are new to LifeWave, you maybe don't know this yet, we have a lot of science materials, all of the studies that David references. We are a science-based company. You can access all of those specific studies on the science section of our website. There's a lot of great stuff there that will really help you to understand even more so what David's talking about. And if you're looking for evidence that GHKCU is actually elevated when using these patch X39, you can see that there. And also, we do recommend that basic Google searches can give you even more information about the great benefits of having this peptide elevated. But David, we always get a lot of these kind of questions. So before we jump into the Q&A, I want to cover a couple of things when it comes to basic usage and everything like that, so we can have some time for maybe some more specific questions. Do you mind just kind of going through some of the basics, like how long to wear the patches? If you're wearing X39 and X49 together, where do you put it? Best time of day to wear it, and things like that.
Sure. Well, a lot of this is covered in the instructions. When we test the patches in our clinical studies, people are wearing them during the day. On a technical basis, there's probably not a reason why someone couldn't wear it in the evening, but for the moment, because of the clinicals, we recommend that people wear the patches during the day. Where you apply them in the studies, we apply them behind the neck, below the belly button. Just about anywhere on the body is okay. Some people, when they have an injury, let's say they have, a cut or broken bone or something like that, and they want to support the healing process, they want to put the patch at the location of the injury. There's no reason why you can't do that, but we found in our blood studies that the effect is systemic. So just about anywhere that you put it, it's going to have an effect on the entire body. In combining patches, X39 behind the neck, X49 below the belly button is just fine. It's going to work for the entire body. Again, if someone had an injury and they want to help reduce pain, I'd recommend adding Eon and then putting Eon at the point of pain. We found, as a practical matter, that works extremely well. Patches should be worn 12 hours. Reason for this, that you don't want to wear it more than that, is that the patches trap body heat to activate them. So if you wear them longer, they could irritate the skin. And then also there's a phenomena in phototherapy called attenuation, meaning if you wear them too long, your body can stop responding. So don't wear them continuously 24 hours a day. Your body will stop responding. So 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
Perfect. One thing that I know you talk about a lot as well is just staying hydrated, as I see you're doing right now.
Yeah, plenty of water in my Avengers. I love my Avengers mug. There's my Iron Man over there. But yeah, stay hydrated, drink plenty of water during the day.
Love it. Love it. Okay. I know everyone's really excited for the live Q&A. So before we jump in, we're going to do a quick product giveaway. Today, we're giving away a performance bundle, which has one sleeve of X39 and one sleeve of X49 in it. And so we'll look in the chat right here and our training at LifeWave account. We'll go ahead and add the name of our product winner today. And what we would encourage you to do, if you see your name listed there, please email into sales@lifewave.com and you can claim your prize. So let's see what training has here with the randomizer. Oh gosh, everyone, you're so great. You're wanting to win. I see this. Okay, we'll put it there at the very end because it looks like everyone's too excited right now. So we'll have to hold off because I don't think we'll ever catch it. So, okay, thanks training. We'll make sure we get that in at the very end, and we'll do one more giveaway at the end. So the way that we like to do these Q&As with David is a couple of ways. So I know that some of you have already entered in your questions into the Q&A section of the webinar. So thank you for that. If you'd like to have your question answered, please either put it there or raise your hand. You're able to raise your hand as an attendee, and that will allow us to call on you and actually have you answer or ask your question live. So we're going to go ahead and do a live question first. And so I'll go ahead and say your name, and it's just based on the order that it shows up here. We'll say your name and then ask one question, please. David, I ask that you please limit it to one question so we can have as many people ask David a question as possible. So we're going to start with the first name here. We're going to go with Ann Nunez. Ann, can you ask your question of David?
Can you hear me?
We can, yes. Hi.
I fell and tore my rotator cuff, and I can raise my arm, but it's not as strong as it used to be. Should I use both X39 and 49, and should I put them on the back of my neck or near the shoulder, or is there anything special?
Yes, great question. There's a number of things that you can do. So first thing, I want to get into it in a little bit more detail. So just as a general recommendation, what's worked for other people is to place X39 behind the neck and then Eon on the shoulder at the point of pain. Or if you have a point of discomfort, that would be a good way to start. Another thing that you can do is to apply the IceWave patches on the bottom of the feet where it shows in the instructions for use. That's also going to help with pain and range of motion. You may find that it's not necessary, but that's something in addition that you could do.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, David. And thank you, Anne, for your question. We're going to jump over to the Q&A section now. The first question we have here is from Michael Lubby. And the question is, if I use 2 sets of energy patches, will you burn additional calories from fat?
Interesting. There is a point of diminishing returns, and a lot of this does depend on a person's diet, how much sleep they get, exercise, and some other things. But diet is by far the most important compensating factor. So let's say you have someone that is practicing intermittent fasting. When we start to consume food, the body right away is going to produce insulin, and then the insulin is going to store additional calories as body fat. The patches can compensate for this, but what this means is that if someone is consuming food all day, it's a little bit of an uphill battle, as opposed to if someone is on, a ketogenic diet or they're doing intermittent fasting, then you can really optimize the effect. But I would say that 2 patches, we've studied single set of patches in terms of burning calories. We used indirect calorimetry, and we found that people could burn an additional 300 to 600 calories per day. So there's quite a bit of variance. We haven't done that study with 2 sets of patches for calorie burning. We have seen it in practice with IceWave and with other studies where you get an increase in energy flow through the body. But I would say that 1 set of patches gets you about 70, 80% there. So you're not going to double your results with 2 sets of patches. You might get another, 10, 20% improvement. That'd be my take on it.
Awesome. Great question. Okay, so we have over here on the Audible questions, we have Donna Garland. Donna, I'm going to unmute you. And you need to unmute on your side as well, Donna Garland. Can you hear us?
I can. Thank you very much. I have a question on blood pressure. I have someone who got onto the X39 X49 and for 4 months was responding wonderfully. Blood pressure went down, skin and everything improved, sleep improved, and then suddenly everything started going backwards, and the blood pressure is now up again. And nothing has changed. The diet is the same, medications are the same. He's actually on less medications, and I'm just wondering why that would happen with the blood pressure.
Yeah, that's really difficult to say because the studies that we've done on both X39 and X49 have continued to show statistically significant improvements in blood pressure. They're minor, but they trend down for sure. So it's difficult to say what's going on there because we just don't really have the data. The other thing, that I'd say is we don't make a claim about reducing blood pressure. So I wouldn't want someone to think that you could use the patches to reduce blood pressure. It's obviously a very serious medical condition. If I was going to look at it from a diagnostic perspective, one of the first things that I would look at is levels of potassium and magnesium. Magnesium, of course, is involved in over 400 different metabolic processes, and you can reduce blood pressure over a period of time with magnesium. So this is to say if a person had additional stress in their life, they were getting on an airplane more often, maybe they had COVID, their magnesium levels could drop, and this could cause an increase in blood pressure. I'm not saying that's the case here, but that's just one example of something that could change, that could cause an increase in blood pressure. We just don't have any study data that's available that could indicate that the patches would elevate blood pressure after a few months.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that, David. Hopefully that helps, Donna. Okay, let's jump back over to the Q&A typed out questions. We have a question here from Ann W. And she says, I have a doctor who's looking into LifeWave, and he's asked if we have any articles from Lancet or JAMA to support LifeWave's clinical studies.
We do not. Because those are medical journals and we don't make any medical claims. We have to walk a very fine line here because in the United States, as an example, we are regulated as a general wellness product. And as a result, we don't make any type of medical claims. Otherwise, we might be classified as a drug in class 3 or in class 2. If we were going to pursue that route, then of course we would do clinical studies to show that the patches have an effect on treating a disease, and then we would publish in one of those journals. But because they're wellness products, that's why we don't seek to publish in something like JAMA.
Perfect. Great answer, David. Okay, let's go back over here to the live. We have Emily G here. So let's get Emily G. Can you hear us? You'll need to unmute yourself, Emily, so we can hear your question.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. My question is, if I have X39 on back of the neck, GV14 for 12 hours, and then I put Eon in the same spot, in the evening, will attenuation happen?
Well, I would not stimulate the same spot because you're going to irritate the skin. This would be, the same thing as wearing the same patch at that spot. So wearing two different patches at the same spot is not really the issue. It's the fact that you're wearing any patches at the same spot. It's going to irritate the skin. So I wouldn't recommend that. From the perspective of attenuation, the wavelengths of light that are coming off of X39 and Eon are different. So there would not be attenuation in that regard. So that's actually something that I do. I wear X39 during the day and I wear Eon at night because I find that it will relax the nervous system, doesn't go into parasympathetic mode. It goes into a balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic. So it provides a very nice, relaxing, deep sleep. But I would not place the patches at the same point. You're going to end up in a relatively short period of time irritating the skin and making it red.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, David. Okay, so let's go back over to the Q&A. I know we have time for just a few more questions. Let's see here. Okay, so we have David Miringoff, who says, does X39 activate stem cells or regenerate stem cells or both?
So we would be looking at the effects of GHKCU on the body. So what we've done in our clinical studies is to show that the patch elevates copper peptide about 30 to 40% within the first 24 hours. So that's pretty dramatic. And when you consider really the only other way to do that is by getting an injection, and that would be quite expensive. And not many people want to give them injections every day, right? So then when we look at the effects of copper peptide, what exactly is it doing? One of the things that copper peptide does is that it mobilizes the stem cells. So it gets stem cells to go to injury site, begin the healing process. We also know that copper peptide will increase the number of circulating stem cells by reverting the stem cells in the skin over to pluripotent stem cells. So, and you can see this as a practical matter in some of the testimonials we receive where people are healing very, very quickly. They heal as if, they were younger. And this is because there's an increase in the quality of the stem cells. The stem cells act like younger cells and there's more stem cells. So I think that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Okay. I bet everyone's loving this. These are some great answers. Let's keep it rolling. I think we have time for probably about 2 more. So we have in the live chat, we have Patch Passion Academy. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You'll need to unmute on your side as well. Patch Passion Academy. Do you have a question?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, sure. Great. That's Phil Steinberg in Switzerland.
Oh, hi, Phil.
Hi, Emily. Hi, David. I have a question, of course, which is a little specific and more related to the studies and the hope of stem cells. But would you think of, or did you think, David, in your studies, that a semi-broken spine marrow could eventually heal if it's not completely broken. We know that it's immediately or very fast making a crust and it cannot resolder together. But say that only half of it is broken. Do you think that from the healthy part, the non-broken part, it could push the crust away and regrow the marrow?
That's a really interesting question. I would, if I were going to tackle that problem, I'd be using more than patches. Patches would be used in a supporting nature. One of the questions is going to be to what extent is there scar tissue? The patches would help in the sense that EON and X39 help to manage keloid proteins, which form from inflammation and can form scar tissue. So that would be a huge benefit. But to reduce the scar tissue would require a couple of other techniques. So, for example, ozone therapy could potentially reduce the scar tissue. Another thing that could help would be magnetic field therapy. And there's a number of different techniques there. So we don't have quite the time to get into that. I might also look with an injury that concerning. I would probably also look at upregulating the number of circulating stem cells with a hyperbaric chamber. There was a technique that was developed in Israel. You can easily find that on the internet. And this clinic got a lot of notoriety because they found that they could lengthen the telomeres with the use of a specific process and procedure in a hyperbaric chamber. But the important thing here is that hyperbaric chambers, if used properly, can increase the number of circulating stem cells in the body by 4, 5, 6 times over baseline. And that's pretty significant because very serious injuries in the body, like brain trauma, can now be healed with that technique. Of course, diet is also going to be important, making sure people get enough protein and healthy fats to support the recovery process. But I would be using things like ozone therapy, IV ozone to deal with the scar tissue. I'd be using magnetic field therapy, hyperbaric oxygen, maybe some IVs of some different things like vitamin C IVs, which are known to upregulate collagen production, and then a number of the different patches, which can help support that.
Thank you, David. Much appreciated.
Yep, absolutely, Phil. Anytime.
Wonderful. Okay, let's go ahead and do our last question here from the Q&A section. So we have Charity here for our last question. Please explain why it is said to only use 2 of the YH, meaning EON, glutathione, or carnosine products at a time. And if we use all 3, is it hindering something?
No, this is always based on studies. And actually, we do have a study that was done by 2 medical doctors in Australia. It's in the science section of the website, and this was done looking at the quality of the skin. And what they found was that when glutathione, carnosine, and EON were all used together, it produced a very dramatic improvement in the quality of the skin. And this is really easy to understand because glutathione, of course, functions as an antioxidant. Carnosine is a very powerful anti-glycation nutrient, meaning that unfortunately here in the United States, people eat too many carbohydrates, the blood sugar levels go up, and this can cause damage to healthy tissue. So carnosine can actually inhibit this glycation process, the damage to healthy cells caused by elevated blood sugar levels. And then, of course, EON is managing stress and inflammation. So, yes, it is possible to wear all 3. We definitely have more information on combining any 2 of the patches, but we do have one study which indicates you can use all 3.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I know everyone will have really enjoyed the questions today, David, and especially your answers. So thank you so much for coming on today and answering all these questions. I'm honestly so amazed every time. No matter what the question is, you always have the answer. So
yeah, it's a download, from the divine. So I give God the credit there and where it belongs.
Well, thank you, David. We really appreciate you. We appreciate the knowledge that you can share with us, and we really just appreciate all that you do for each of us in this community.
Well, I appreciate that. I want to send my congratulations to you, though, Emily. You're always very, very kind and generous, and U.S. market is doing an amazing job. It's the #1 market in the world in terms of growth rate. So many congratulations to you on a job well done. And of course, to our amazing leaders and members.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that, David. It's an honor to serve with you and our leaders here all over the world. But, I do have a special spot in my heart for our U.S. leaders that we get to partner with here. So thank you for that. And looking forward to seeing you and everyone else at convention real soon.
Absolutely. See you next week.
David. Yeah, we'll see you then. And for everyone here on the webinar, I know we didn't get to share the last name of our product giveaway member, and this was Rob Slagle. I hope I'm saying your name right. And I was actually just got a text on the last name in our randomizer to close out the webinar, and that is Tari Bussard. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced, but Tari Bussard and Rob Slagle. Please email into sales@lifewave.com if you were named as one of our product giveaway winners today, and you can claim your prize that way. We'll get all your details and get the performance bundle for each of you sent out. And again, a huge thank you to David for being on the webinar. Thank you to all of you for being a part of our community, for tuning in, for being a part of our LifeWave Connects. And we cannot wait to see you either virtually or in person in Orlando in just a few short days. We'll see you all later. Thanks again. This is Emily and David here at LifeWave, and we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.